Now, well, we didn't really get to do a proper buy, hold, sell segment last week because it was the split round. We were kind of halfway through things, so we couldn't make too many moves there because of the Vegas guys were locked out. But we can talk fairly openly about buy, hold, sell this week. So let's move into the buys.
Buy more. Sound fair enough?
Bit of aggressive dubstep going on there. Thanks, Matty G, for doing those up.
Some peak 2010 COD montage.
Feels like candies at Sydney.
Yeah. Buy, hold, and sell. Obviously, last week we didn't have anything to go off, but we had to be prepared for one man we're going to talk about. We knew the performance. We knew the role. We were thankful enough that we could pick most of our team with him in our minds, and that is Terrell May. Obviously, the most traded in player this week for good reason. I don't see the role changing. I know he's been named in the 17, like literally in the 17 jersey, but like I'm not fussed at all. Spencer Leniu being out, Jared Warrior-Hargraves not getting any younger. I would just expect Jared Warrior-Hargraves to take that Spencer Leniu role and everything stays the same. And 13,000 coaches agree, which is a staggering trade-in amount, but I think it's very much well worth it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've been talking about Terrell May for 2 weeks since he had that big game. And I mean, look, do we expect 55 minutes from him again? Maybe not. Due to the fact that obviously Satili went down injured, Wong went down injured, the rotation got thrown all over the place. I think he ended up on an edge there for a little bit. So the minutes were inflated, but regardless, he still went at a 1.2 ppm when he played some edge. So if he gets 45 minutes in the middle, he's still a great pick. He'll put you up 50, 55 pretty comfortably, I think, in base, which we saw. I think it was 50 in base and was it 14 in evade or something? It was similar, something like that. 64, I think he scored in total, didn't he?
Yeah, I'll get you the exact numbers, but yeah, played massive minutes. That PPM stayed where it was. Like I think the minutes were slightly inflated, but I'm not thinking it's going to have a massive drop off. But yeah, 50 in basically pure base, 14 in evade, which is great, especially for a guy that's priced at a 42 and a half. Like if he's pumping at 50 on a worse, that's great. Played 54 minutes. I expect that to drop back to like a 48, but you know, at a 1.2 ppm, that drops him from a 64 to a 57, 58. Like, you know, I'm still happily very much take that in a position that's got so much dire. Talk about a guy that pumps at 50 base. How good was the 58 points? Some of the most boring 58 points you'll ever see from Morgan Smithies. I'm not worried one bit when Corey Horsburgh comes back. Like, I'm just not.
No, they've been talking about Corey Horsburgh coming back into the prop rotation anyway. So there's every chance Josh Papali'i ends up back on the bench, and you've said openly that he's happy to play off the bench all through the preseason. He said that, so I think they'd be silly to move him now. I mean, how often do you see a guy score 60 in base and score less points? Because he got 58, he had 60 in base and then -2 in negative. So very impressive from him. He's a guy I think that you've got to lock and load on. If you don't have him, it's at the price as well. It's only 345k. So if you got one of these mid-range kind of 400k guys wrong, you've got a Furmore that you want to move on potentially if you don't trust that he's going to be in the right role after the bye. It's a nice little downgrade for 100k in your pocket.
Yeah, and the minutes are the big question. Like, he's going to be relevant. He's going to make bulk cash, but it's like, is he going to have an 80-minute role? I think that's a bit of a stretch to ask a guy to play 80 minutes in the middle of an NRL game. It's not like the Super League where it's a little bit slower and there's more time spent in the ruck, so you can get a little bit more rest. A second here, that adds up. You make 40 tackles. There's nearly a full minute's worth of extra rest you get. So I think Smithies, he was probably going to play 80 in round one. Like he was going to play 40 straight. He had the HIA with 7 minutes to go. Came back on the second half and played, the full 40. Did look a bit gassed, but I think that match fitness will come. I've got him pegged at around 60 minutes, 65.
Yeah, I think you're right. And even if you get 65, you're probably getting 55 in base, and you're happy with that at 350k. Anyway, he's going to rise in price pretty comfortably.
He was playing a little bit of Link the last 10 minutes, so his scoring sort of slowed a little bit. But if he's playing Link, especially with these big forwards, with Tarpany, with Hosking can run a great line. Hudson Young's a great line runner. Papali'i is a notable try scorer. Hello, Mattrix is in the building.
Good morning, chicken fuckers.
Hello. We're talking about Hudson Young being a great line runner. I think with all that attack, Smithies will jag some attack eventually, and that 50 base will go up to a 75, and that'll be a score that gets his price absolutely moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. Anything to add on Smithies, Mattrix? Are you a happy Morgan Smithies owner?
Yeah, I'm a Morgan Smithies believer. At 350k, you'd be mad not to. He looked good in his first outing, and I don't think Hudson Young affects it too much. I think he'll slot into the front row, and yeah, I'll make Papali'i will retire to the bench.
Yeah. Just so you're aware as well, we had a lot of comments asking where you were, and a lot of people boycotting, ready to walk out on us because you weren't here. So we're glad you saved the podcast.
You were called the Viliami Fafita of the podcast. One start, then sent to the reserve grade.
Yeah, good. Let's move on to the third.
I was going to say we love Hamiso on this podcast. Like all three of us, we spoke him up all preseason. I couldn't love him any much more than when he kicked the ball off the ground straight into Hila Lukey's hands and he strolled over untouched.
What a time! What a time!
He's our third buy. Put up a 62 on the weekend. I know there were some concerns over the minutes. He only played 59 minutes. Had a HIA in there. Had a benching, but came back on at the back end. Todd Payton's been very vocal about him easing into an 80-minute role. And he still had 46 in base, which when he's priced at a 47, we know how dynamic he is as an attacker. Like that's just pure base. That's no evade, no scoring, no, anything. Like I'm very, very keen.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Me too. He's in my team. I started with him. I love Heelan Lukey. I think we were even talking about him last year, saying that if he gets an opportunity on an edge for an extended run, he's a must-have in your team. And I think the same applies this year. In games where he's played more than 60 minutes, so he's played 8 games, more than 60 minutes in his NRL career so far, and he averages 77.2 in those games. So, and then again, he gets 59 minutes and scored 63. Obviously, he was given an absolute gift to score that try, but still 46 in base in 59 minutes. You can't really complain about that. I think there's also been word, Mattrix, that they're easing him into this 80-minute role that they would ideally like him to play. So plenty of positives.
Look, I'm keen to just see him play 80 minutes. That would be ideal. And like, how good is having somebody like ramping up? Like he's already covering his cost right now, and we expect him to get more and more. Like he would probably have just got his break even without that try, but he's going to jag some attacking stats as well.
Yeah, you're not picking him purely in base. You're picking him because he's on a decent team, on a good edge, plenty of attacking upside there.
Oh, and the draw's really good. The draw's really good. You got Newcastle, St George, Broncos, Titans, Parramatta, Sharks. Like for the first 7 rounds, like you got one tough game in there. Like historically with Supercoach defensive teams. So yeah, I'm really keen. I think as those minutes improve, he won't play Origin. They have a really friendly buy. Sorry, not a friendly buy schedule. He's out 16 and 19, but like he's a guy I could probably just hold. Like if injuries happened and like he never came out of my team and he was my 2RF6 at the end of the season, like that's fine.
Absolutely. Quick question from Cade here in the chat, Mattrix. Any post-basketball celebratory drinks?
Drowning the sorrow is more likely. He probably shot 1 from 9 from the field, 2 turnovers.
Hey, mate, I just make the team foul. Only 2 turnovers. I'm a point guard, man. I average about fucking 6.
Love that. Bit of Russell Westbrook in that. The fourth buy on the list here is Taylor May, and that's a pretty obvious one, boys, but 40% owned? Like, I thought he would have at least cracked 50% to start the season, Matty. Like, how I guess now he's a guy you've just got to get in, isn't he?
100%. They scored 0 points, and he was, like, the best scorer on most people's teams. Like, 67, they scored 0 points. Absolute no-brainer. There is, like, no rhyme or reason to anti-pod Taylor May.
Yeah. I mean, 32 in evade, Josh. 32 points in pure evade.
Yeah, I just realized that I need to, when we start this call, I need to change my name from my actual name to my Twitter handle.
Everyone knows who you are, mate. It's all right. You've got the biggest following out of a lot of us, so.
No, it's fine. No, I mean, Talamay, yeah, absolute stud. Like we said this all preseason, we loved him for the work that he can do. He scored 70 points in a team that scored 0. Like, if that's not the most promising thing there is, then I don't know what to tell you. He was the best player in the park for the Panthers, probably second best behind Isaiah Yeo. Like, just workhorse, can break a tackle, like big body, hasn't missed a step, like unreal. Just get him in. He's more of a priority than Zach. He's more of a priority than Zach Laybut, which sounds stupid because Laybut just scored 100.
Big time. We don't even have him on this buy list. And that's not to say that he's not a good option if your team allows for it. We just feel that there's some better choices. And Mattrix is live changes to the notes here. So I might quickly throw over to him because he's got one more player he'd like to talk about.
I just see.
Look, it's the great Luke Metcalf. 5/8 number one for the competition at the moment. Like, I was just wondering how much it was going to cost to go from Dillbags to Luke Metcalf. Sometimes it's not what you spend, it's what you save. So you could have like 300k and have the best 5/8 in the game. Look, in all fairness, he did just play an absolute blinder, but people are getting excited about like a Jacob Little at 450k in a shit position. I would say 5/8 is just as bad, really. And this guy's 480k. I just want to bring him up. I was spooking it. He went fantastic. Look, he did score 25 in base, 20 in 8, and 17 in scoring. But he's just one to keep an eye on. If he scores another 70 this week, it'll be hard not to find a way to get him in.
With how much you talked him up all preseason, like you own him, surely, don't you?
Yeah, in multiple draft competitions.
Fraud.
Absolute
Fake.
fraud.
Fake fan.
Fake fan.
All right, they're the buyers. Let's move on to the hold. Couldn't think of anything else but Braveheart. Brendan Piakura, boys. I mean, he's been named. It looks like he's got through concussion protocol okay. There was news last week he was getting through that fine, so he's been named. I know people are probably panicking around the 4 that's going to be in his rolling average for that first price rise, but we know that it drops out the quickest. So I guess the first score of the year, Josh, is the one that you worry about the least when it comes to cash gen.
More people are trading at Piakura than they're trading at Tamalolo. It seems mental to me. Like, why? Like, look, I don't own Piakura, and I'm very happy he scored a 4 as someone that doesn't own, of course. But like, this was my suggestion, and I don't understand why people are trading him out. Like, it's not like he played 80 minutes and scored a 4. If you did that, totally different story. But he played 2 minutes and got a 4 with a HA. Like, you can't predict these things. Round 1, if you're going to get a shit score in round 1, like, that's the round to do it. Like, don't sell him. Just don't.
No, it makes no sense. We did say that there were concerns around his PPM being low and he minimal base and all that, and very attacking reliant. But he should find that attack for the Broncos on a decent team.
Yeah.
So less concerns there for Piakura. But boys, do we really have to tell people to hold Nico Hines?
I feel like we do. If you read social media, like, I don't know if it's like people having a go or like having a bit of a laugh, but like, I wouldn't be surprised. So at the moment, Nick Cottridge is the 10th most sold player with 1,900 tradeouts. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Nico Hines have like 1,500 people trade him out. And like,
Wild.
all 1,500 people are going to post on X being like, why did I trade him out? And I'm just going to be like, please explain to me why. Like, what was your thought process behind trading out the best Supercoach halfback in the comp? Like, we can have a conversation about selling Nico Hines next week. If he looks terrible again and Trindle is taking away all the attack, then yes, let's have that conversation. But if he scores 40 again this week, but looks, I said this to Mattrix in the wrap-up show, like, if he scores 40 again, but a back row drops the ball, or Mulatalo just gets taken out, like, if he passes the eye test again, like, I'm just going to hold him because I know that the variance will turn. He'll score 180 against the Dragons, and everyone's going to be like, why did we ever trade him out? It's all about the eye test thing with Nico Hines, not so much the scores, which sounds silly. But you do have to commit next week, because if he has a poor score but looks really good and you commit to holding him, you have to be okay with opening up your app next month or 2 Mondays' time and seeing minus 180k, minus 150. Like, you have to be okay with that. So you have to commit next week. But for me, it's just about the eye test. And
Mattrix, he's got the Tigers next week as well. So, I mean, surely that's got to influence your decision as to whether you're selling him.
He could have a break even at 200 and probably nearly cover that against the Tigers. But
at halftime,
like, genuine, like, people talking about trading him out, like, genuine captain option, I think. Like, he's just one of those guys that the second you trade him out, he's going to get 180 and it is going to hit you right in the feels.
He's playing the same team that someone's halfback scored 30 points in 12 minutes. Like, and I was terrified of and that's playing in a side with 2 dominant halves and a dominant fullback. Like, Will Kennedy ain't that dominant. Braden Trindle's fine. Like, Hines is going to get the touches. I think he, like, had the quad tightness. Playing in New Zealand is never fun.
And also, the captain choices this week aren't exactly just slam dunks. So, when we'll talk about that, I won't ruin captain's segment, but it's a bit tricky to pick one this week. So Nico definitely is a standout in that category as well.
Like I'm talking like straight captain because
and
everyone else I'm looking at. So like
100%.
I'm already locked in Nico, and you guys know that I own Cleary, so I can't look at him against Parramatta. And then you guys know who my fullbacks are. You know my fullbacks are Travojevic, and you know they're Kalen Ponga. Travojevic plays the Roosters, and KP plays the Cowboys in North Queensland. So it's like they're not slam dunk picks. Like I probably will lean for having the vice captaincy on Hines, but there's a world where I just do a straight captain.
Yep, agreed. And one, I guess, extra note would be that he averages a little bit shy of 101 at PointsBet in 18 games. So, if you want to take that on, be my guest. But I will not be.
He also averaged 101 versus New Zealand.
We don't talk about things like that, Josh. We leave those things in the past, okay? There's enough mental scarring already from the weekend. Sithili Tupanua is the final hold. He's been named. He's fit, good to play. A bit of, I guess, a panic maybe from people seeing a 20-odd from round one.
Just rinse and repeat what we said with Pierre Cora.
Yeah. If you watch the game, he was injured 3 minutes into the second half. You've got to just give him another go. You got him for a reason. What's changed, except for the fact that he had a fairly decent first half and then got injured.
On another day, he also scores 2 tries. Like Braino and I were sitting there watching it, and like Tupanua looked very close to going over a couple of times. So that will come. Same thing. Like if he has another poor game this week, then let's have a look at addressing that. But we're getting free looks at these guys, and we picked them for reasons. And nothing in round one changed my opinion on Pierre Cora or Tupanua if I was an owner. Like nothing showed me that they're trade outs.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's move on to the sells. Obvious one, Spencer Leniu. Let's get that one out of the way. We said it last week. We'll say it again this week. He is by far and away the most traded out player because he is suspended for 8 rounds or 8 games. So he will be back round 10. I was really hoping it'd align with the rematch in round 9, but he misses it. They
couldn't do it. They just couldn't. Like, could you imagine the uproar? Like, they just couldn't do it. But yeah, let's leave Spencer Leniu chat out of the chat, please, tonight, guys. I know that it's going to cause a lot of not needed debate, so let's just leave it. Jai Arrow. Looks like his season's done.
Fuck's sake, man.
Oh, you couldn't write this shit, could you? So for anyone not following, my front row forwards will lend you an arrow, so this is going to be a great time to make front row forward trades. It's the best. But yeah, Jai Arrow, I mean, minimum looking, 6 to 8 weeks, upwards of the season if we need shoulder labrum surgery or like, I don't know, there was some kind of rotator
cuff. Yeah.
So not good. I don't know which injury would have kept him out. There was about 8 to choose from that game for Jai Arrow. So one of them finally caught up to him, but whether he's out for 6 weeks or whether he's out for the season, hasn't changed my opinion on him. He's not cheap enough to hold. He doesn't have enough upside as a premium to hold. Like, just sell him for someone else, especially when you've got a guy like Terrell May just sitting there staring you in the face.
Yep. Yeah, and a guy that potentially could be replacing Jai Arrow that has a lot of relevance that we'll talk about very soon as well. Keenan Palacia, get rid of him. Matrix, you warned everybody in the preseason. You said this guy's just not very good, and people were still picking him.
Yeah, and I think I said mid. He's just so mid. He is just a guy that is going to average 30 for the rest of his career. And that's okay. People don't need to average 70. You're trying to find a diamond in the rough there at 360K. Keenan's just not it. Get off. Get Terrell May. Yeah, just get off him.
Get Oregon Kaufusi. If you don't have the money, just buy Oregon Kaufusi. Yeah. I just want to know, in what world can you be a middle forward and put up 22 points in 31 minutes? He put up 11 points in 30 minutes in the trial as well. Does my man just not do work? Does he just say, "Oh, Tino, can you just do the work of 2 people for me?"
The warning was there, wasn't it? I think everyone was maybe enticed by the front row, second row duel, thinking, I can get a guy in that's starting at lock that I can put in my front row, but he played 31 minutes at lock. So
31 minutes, 22 points for a whopping 0.71 ppm. We talk about Tom Flegler having a historically shit PPM for a prop at like 1. And Palacios sitting there with a 0.7. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. Yeah, move him on. Bomb.
No good. All right. That's buy, hold, sell.